All right, Zig coming in on the top. Today on the show, we have Jake Burns, singer-songwriter of the band Rockstead. Rockstead is a rock reggae group based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. They are playing February 10th at the Beachland Ballroom, accompanied by John Wayne and the Pain and Ziggy D of Sea Level doing a solo set, and that's me. So as a reminder, February 10th, the Beachland, it's going to be a fun night. Also, Rockstead has an album coming out that day. Their new album's called Fall Down, Get Back Up, Repeat. We're going to listen to a track off their latest release. This is Last Straw featuring our good friends, the Quasi Kings. So this is Last Straw by Rockstead and the Quasi Kings. Rockstead, The Last Straw, featuring the Quasi Kings, right? It's heavy, it's reggae, it's super, super rad. So if you dig it and you want to see it live, February 10th. Also, new album coming out to accompany that. This was a fun conversation. And it's interesting, like, talking with Jake, I kind of hit a lot of similar, like, at least starting points, like as a guitar player and trying to learn how to sing and play guitar and write songs, and how that it almost doesn't matter how good or bad you do a thing, but the repetitive process of self-analyzing and how that leads to a better result. And we get into that in our conversation. But before we get to that conversation, some Sea Level news. I play in a band called Sea Level, letter C-Level. We are a funk punk reggae rock group based out of Cleveland. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, plugging that here. We have a new album coming out as well, and we're having an album release show March 4th at the Grog Shop, featuring Joint Operation, the Cat's Meow, doing a Tony Hawk Pro Skater soundtrack set. If you're not familiar with the Cat's Meow is a improv group made up of members of the band Wanyama, and they usually bring up guests. Often you'll see guys from Widen Direct and so forth, and they usually make tunes up on the spot. But this night, in particular, we're celebrating the music from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtrack, which is going to be sweet. Also, we have the Franz, and that's at the Grog Shop, March 4th. So if you are listening and you're like, this guy's banter sounds kind of cool, maybe his music matches, C-Level, March 4th at the Grog Shop. But we're here to focus on Rockstead. And Rockstead's one of those bands that I kept hearing about, in particular from Benny from the Quasi Kings, and just raving about how, like, they incorporate their rock elements with reggae. And it's a superbly done job. And when I got the opportunity to open for Rockstead, I was really bummed out we couldn't do a full band, but honored that they accepted me as a solo set. And I'm really excited for this gig. So February 10th, the Beachland, Rockstead, John Wayne and the Pain. I'm going to do some solo loopy stuff. It's going to be a fun night. If you guys can like, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast on any of the podcast platforms, that helps me keep talking to cool guests like Jake and sharing his insight with you. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jake. To jump into it, my first question was what's the similarities with music? And that can be writing, that can be being in a band, that can be any aspect of it, and whitewater rafting.
Well, honestly, they both give me the rush that I'm looking for in life, man. Like, I mean, I've always been a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, so any adventure sport is always very appealing to me. But also, when you're, as you probably know, when you're playing live on stage in front of a bunch of people, I mean, it's a feeling that it's kind of indescribable, and I guess it's kind of the same way when you're bashing through big waves on a river. But yeah, in essence, like, I think it's just that rush. It's just that feeling and, the unique experience of it all. But
That's well said. And it's definitely, you're like, when you see that, when you experience that rush on stage, or that, like, success of a thing, or just the applause of doing a thing, like, There's nothing really quite like that. It will make you get in the van and drive state borders to get that from four people.
Oh, totally. I mean, somebody said to me once, one of our old band members, but it was like, we work our ass off to get that 45 minutes,
Right, right.
like think how much time and effort we put into our lives with music just so we can get that 45 minutes, that 1 hour on stage. Like that's literally what we're working for, is that one moment.
It
And
is.
we do it, dude,
Yeah.
like you said, like that one moment is what keeps us going and waking up, not getting any sleep and skipping a meal so we can drive 6 hours down the road. It's like, yeah,
It's
no, it's real.
are you familiar with the group Full Service? Um
Oh, I'm not,
they're out
no.
of Austin, Texas, and they did like some touring with 311 state radio and like
Oh, cool.
they're really really rad. But they've since broke up and now they're in a band called Two Player. But they had this whole philosophy of 2%, and they all have it tattooed on their tricep, like, and the whole thing is, you 2% is actually playing music.
Yeah, I believe it.
You know what I'm saying? And like,
Oh yeah.
and that's like in high school, I met those guys and went on a tour with State Radio as part of their nonprofit, and like got to hang out and pick their brains, and like that really ingrained that mindset. So it was almost it was like a really good training of getting ready to like have to learn all the other nautical nonsense that be something we don't wish.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. I mean, a lot of people don't understand the back end work that goes into, being an independent musician. Like, for the guys that are still kind of coming up, I mean, there's so much more than just playing music. I actually wish I had more time to play music sometimes.
Was it? Do you like? So as far as like, I guess because and that becomes a whole aspect of it too. Like it's like so much of everything's so temporarily and kind of fleeting. It's like, okay, we have this new song. All right, cool. That was a cool week. Now what? You're like, what? Like that was months of writing and recording, and so do you schedule time to do that? Like to write? Do you have like kind of a routine to like, or is like with Rockstead, is it like kind of like a group effort as far as like coming up with material?
Yeah. So, I mean, me personally, like, really part of my daily routine is, just sitting on my couch in the morning usually. And, I just have time to work on music and write music. But, a lot of pretty much all the music songs I do write on my own. And it's always like, a lot of times it's like acoustic demos. I'll record acoustic demos at my house, and then we just have like a demo folder online, and I just keep stocking it up, and then yeah, basically we do reach a point to where like, all right, like now's the time where we want to work on new music. And so what usually happens is I send the guys to the demo folder, and I'm like, hey, like listen to all these songs and just pick the ones that are your favorite or the ones that you are latching onto. And sometimes it's acoustic demos. Sometimes I expand, I have more ideas where it's like, all right, I've got drum tracks here, or I've got, bass and keys or whatever. But yeah, so a lot of times I'm writing the songs, I've got the lyrics and the melody and the chord progressions and sometimes some riffs and stuff. But usually I take those kind of, the bare bones to the band, and they all kind of write their own parts to the music. But yeah, I mean, like with this last album, we set time aside. I mean, we literally we rented a cabin in the middle of the mountains out here in North Carolina, and just like had a long weekend where we just, played music in this random Airbnb basement for till like 4 a.m. every night, just writing and coming up with new stuff. And that's kind of how this new album we got coming out came to be. But
That
yeah, we definitely have to make time for it.
Gotcha. And that one being a fall down, get back up, repeat.
Yes, fall
Okay.
down, get up, repeat. Yep, you got it.
Um, that's like because I find myself doing a similar process, like writing all the time, recording the whole time you're writing, like fine tuning things at the end of the month and like presenting or like bringing it to the group. And there's always like that dynamic switch of a thing in a way, like unless you come like with a full fledged idea. Like, and I don't know, like with you guys, because are you guys all? Do you live close? Is like, or is the band dispersed?
No.
Okay, that makes sense. Then like
Yeah, we're
do
all
this.
over the place.
Oh, okay. Which makes it even more challenging. You know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah.
you can have these songs cooking in your head, and you have these ideas of how they should go, and then you bring it to the group, and like sometimes it takes a left turn and gets discarded or even better. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
and that. But when you ruminate on it a little bit and you really get into a thing, it's really hard to like um, kind of see it past the thing. I guess I don't know. Like that's a cool process where they can like choose what's speaking to them as a band. Then you kind of already get the group um, like support behind what they're going to want to spend hours on working.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And there's been some songs in the demo folder that might have been sitting there for a while. So, it's like, all right, maybe not a Rockstead song. But yeah, with us living so far apart, like when we get together, our time is very dialed in. I mean,
Right.
it's like when we're together, it's time to work. Like we got to get shit done. We stay pretty organized about what we're doing, when we're doing it, and I mean, because we're not like a normal band where we get to rehearse a couple times a week or whatever. I don't even know what a normal rehearsal schedule is anymore, um but uh but yeah, it's just when we get together, we get shit done. I mean, that's just really what it comes down to. And but it works for us. So
In that way, it's like having that 20 minutes or whatever, or hour or whatever you have in the morning just to focus on writing. It's like the same thing, but as a group. If you have like a smaller amount of time, I feel to like focus on a thing, you're it's more efficient than hours. You know what I mean?
totally.
Like a 4 days where you stay up to 4 in the morning, you're gonna get more done than like rehearsing every day of the week until like whatever, with
Yeah,
endless time. Um,
right.
that's awesome. So like growing like was as far as like singing and playing guitar, was that like uh was this a thing like a that you wanted to do from the rip? Was it always singing? I guess what I'm trying to say is because like I find a lot of my friends and a lot of guitar players I talk to start off just wanting to do that. But was your like kind of like were you always aspired to like be a songwriter as well as a guitar player, or were you more driven towards one or the other?
Um, let's see. So I started playing guitar when I was like 12. It was like seventh or eighth grade, something like
Same.
that.
Okay, cool.
And I mean, my parents had been taking me to concerts forever. Like I started going to concerts when I was probably like 10. And actually, my first rock concert ever was Korn. I went and saw
Nice.
I went and saw Korn. And but yeah, I mean, ever since I was going to like rock shows, I remember thinking like I want to do that,
Yeah.
But as far as being a songwriter, um, you know, I mean, I started my first band in eighth grade.
Nice.
We were called Broken on Impact. That was the name of the band.
Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but but
What
we
type
were
of
writing
stuff?
songs.
Yeah. What type?
It was just like a rock band.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we were 13 or whatever, but we wrote music though. I mean, we actually recorded a little CD. Just at somebody we knew their home studio, but really like I remember we were like trying out singers for the band because I had no intention of being a singer. I was just gonna play guitar, and we were like rehearsing in my friend's basement, like that's where we would play, and we brought in like two or three different people, and they either like weren't very good or like they were too scared to sing in front of us.
Mm.
We were
Yeah.
13, like
Yeah.
I get it. But then it basically came down to we couldn't find a singer, and I was like, well, screw it. Like, I guess I'm going to be the singer. Like, I'll just figure it out. And so that's what we did. And that's kind of how I started being the singer. And I had never been like a singer. I think I had been in like a school musical
Yeah.
once and like sang like in a play, but like as far as that, like I was not like an aspiring singer. Like I don't know, I was just interested in playing guitar. And then but then the more I started playing guitar, I don't know, the songwriting just sort of like fell into place because we just started writing music, and that just became a really cool way for me to express myself. And like I said, yeah, from then on, that band, we were a band all through high school, and I was the front man, singer, guitar player. We were just like
Yeah.
a three-piece band. And actually, those guys in that band later became the first version of Rockstead. We recruited another guitar player, and then once we graduated high school, we started playing more of the music that we do now. And so those guys, that was Rockstead. That was the original members.
Yeah, that's like, I don't know if it's the like, when I listen to the music you guys put out, I don't know if it's the intricacy of the guitar that makes me think that. Like, I'm like, I feel like because there's a lot of like with the reggae rock kind of vibes. There's a lot of guitar that's not like you guys do. Like, there's a special attention paid to like the rock end of it with what you guys do, and I think that sticks out and makes you guys uniquely you. But also when I listen to that, I'm like hearing this is someone who has a guitar kind of thought into their songwriting. And like I kind of had that same process a little bit. Like, we were trying out singers, and like I was like, well, no one keeps showing up, or the guy we had a bunch of other stuff going on, so I'm gonna try to learn. And like,
Yeah.
and it's such a different experience, but I think like when it's accompanied with a guitar, like a physical like representation of melody, like it almost makes it I would have never been able to figure out how to care if I was on pitch,
Yeah,
had I known where to find one, you know?
totally.
And like, it's such a weird journey in that sense because like singing isn't like when you kind of come from that guitar space, you're like, this is the lick. I learned the lick. I can put it wherever, you know? How do you
Yeah,
do that with your voice, you know?
totally.
And you got a fucking great voice, man. So
Oh, thank
the
you, man.
time, you definitely put time into it. Um, and like, just to kind of get like a little glimpse of that vocal journey, like some of those early attempts of learning how to sing, what did that look like for you?
Oh man, uh, I don't even know. Like, it's almost even hard to remember
Yeah.
anymore. But I mean, I do know that like I would just, sit in my room and learn songs. I had like this acoustic guitar, and I figured out how to like play chords and sing along to myself. And I don't even know. Like, I was never formally like trained in music. I just kind of like got better by doing it more,
Yeah.
like I never had anybody give me any direction as far as singing goes. And, I'm sure some good old videos of me singing, in the early days probably aren't anything to write home about. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it was I just kept doing it and kept doing it. And also just singing songs, from artists that I enjoyed. I mean, I latched on to Sublime, obviously, when I was in like high school, and I felt like I could sing like his music really well. Like, it just fit my range and stuff like that. I was always singing in the car, and like Brandon Boyd was a big one for me from Incubus. Like, he was one of my favorite singers, and I was always trying to sing his shit, which is like crazy. That dude's crazy. He's got wicked range. But I don't know. Yeah, for me, it was just doing it a lot. I just enjoyed doing it, And so,
Yeah.
and that's the cool thing as a kid too, is like when you like to do something, when you first start doing it, when you're a kid, you don't really think about being bad at it. You just do it because you like to do it. And like nowadays, people are so scared to try new things because they're like, as an adult, you're like, well, I don't want to be bad. I don't want to suck. I don't want people to think I'm bad. But it's like, you got to go out and suck at something. I think that was a Dave Grohl quote.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to go out and you got to suck at something. And then that's just the way it goes. But yeah, I just enjoyed singing, man, in my room, in my car.
That's
anywhere.
so cool. Like, it's like, cause like, for me, Sublime was a big one too. Like trying to learn how to sing and play. It was all those '90s, Sublime, Nirvana. Like there
Yeah.
was something so like I think uniquely uh, kind of vague and naked about their voices that made it approachable for people who weren't like trained singers to attempt, and
Hmm.
like because I kind of had the same process too. Like I took some like basic like lessons with with everything, with how do I make notes on the guitar, how, like, what I mean, like, but
Yeah.
it really comes down to that practice of recording yourself, listening back, being like, oh god, this is completely awful, but I like how I said the one verse, how did, like, let me hone it in, just like fine tuning this thing till you learn how to like navigate that melodic path.
Totally.
And it's interesting you say with kids now, because like it's like no one wants to do anything new because it's captured and shared and ridiculed, but
Yeah.
like it's you have to like the new is half the words you know what I mean, like
Totally.
but does that kind of fall into like some of the maybe like bigger philosophical concepts of this record you guys are putting out now?
Um,
Maybe not like
what's that?
directly, but like just you fall down, you get back up, and repeat. This kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
self like
Totally. Yeah. No, I mean, that title, so it's actually a line in one of the songs on the album, and also like a lot of the songs on the new album were a lot of them were written during like the COVID quarantine sort of time, and so the whole fall down, get up, repeat thing, it just made sense with like the state that the world was in, and
yeah.
but yeah, also just that general concept of like you go and you mess up, you get up and you try again, I mean, also just with the journey of making this album, it's like nothing ever goes perfectly, as you probably know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it was just a general concept that I feel like everybody can understand, and maybe some people need to hear, like some people get so caught up in their failures sometimes, and it's like, well, that's kind of what's supposed to happen. Like if you succeeded every single time you did something, like you would be, well, you would not be normal, I'll tell you that, but but it's just, one of those things you kind of got to get used to with life, and I thought it was a good message.
No, I think it's great, and I totally agree with it. And like, if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't want to do the thing. You'd be bored and you would move it on. You'd be like,
Uh-huh.
oh, rock star, that's easy. Did
Yeah,
that.
check.
Check.
Right.
Let's see what's next. Mountain climber? Why not?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
check.
yeah, like, and like, and maybe it's the perceived like how we kind of see a lot of like everyone's best all the time. You know,
Yeah. Oh,
like
totally.
it really makes it hard to like see and the idea that failure can lead to this thing that doesn't go away via internet. But it shouldn't be that. It should be, you should be able to hear your shitty demos and be like, oh, thank God I kept going.
Yeah,
Like, I don't want to be that
for real.
guy. Like,
I have to remind myself of that often,
yeah,
because I'm always like, you're always your worst critic, right?
right.
And I'll be listening to some new stuff. I'm like, man, why do we do this? Why do we do this? Or honestly, usually once we release music, I don't listen to it anymore.
Yeah.
Like once it's out in the world, I mean, unless somebody's like playing it, like in a room or whatever. But I don't. Once it's actually released, I usually don't listen to it because I'm like, I'm just gonna pick it apart and be like, we should have done this, we should
Yeah.
have done that. I mean, overall, I'm always like pretty happy at that point because we're releasing it. But yeah, I generally try not to listen to it too much
I,
when we once it's out there.
I totally agree with that state. One, when you get to that point, you've heard it so many times in so
Oh
many
yeah.
different environments. You're like, what's it sound like out of my phone? What's it sound like out of the car? What's it sound like here?
Yep.
You know, okay, now it's mastered. What's it sound like there? Like, and
Totally.
like, just up until that point, and like, it's like for me, I find if I can listen to it before putting it out, right, and be like, I'm thinking about other stuff, I'm okay with it, you know? And if I
Yep.
can go back years later and like, you're always gonna, it's like as soon as you put that on, like for me, I find this helps with long drives. Like if we got demos or mixes, I put that on, I'm like instantly like anxiety's like, pay attention. You're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Right.
You're a little bit more shook up and more aware of not the road, but the nonsense you're working on. And
Yep.
like, but it's I totally agree with that statement. Once it's done, it's kind of like okay, moving on. Luckily, my band will come back and be like, maybe we should have turned up the bass, or like
Right. There's always something.
yeah, there always is. But I appreciate the extra listening after I've heard it too many times, you know.
Right.
But that's so, and it's interesting, like kind of bouncing off with like the concept of the last record with being in control to like this like kind of the world trying to regain control, or you trying to regain not that all these are planned out like this, but this is like some me looking at your discography retrospectively, you know.
Hmm.
But diving into that record, you guys work with the Quasi Kings, and Benny and Zach are some of like the nicest people. How'd you guys meet up with them?
Yeah. Good dudes for sure. Honestly, we've known each other for years now, just because we've been in the same music scene. I mean, they used to play with Shrub,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so we were going and seeing. I was going and seeing like Shrub shows when I guess I was in college, and then Rockstead was doing our thing, and once we started traveling, like we're playing shows up in Columbus all the time, and Shrub broke up and Quasi Kings kind of came to be, so we've been playing shows with them for a long time. And actually, fun fact, there's one point in time where we were in between bass players, like we were kind of looking for a full-time bass player, and Benny
Yeah.
played bass for us for like a couple shows just to help us out and keep us going while we found somebody. but
Hell yeah.
but yeah, I've known those guys pretty much ever since we started playing in Columbus, I think. And yeah, now we've become good friends and had to get them on track, man.
What was it like as far as like having Benny in the band? Like, as far as how was his approach on bass different than the bass player you had before?
Yeah. Uh, Dude, Benny's got just fat tone, dude. His
Yeah.
his his ability to just play that in the pocket like reggae bass is fucking awesome. And the fact that he sings while he does that in
It's
Quasi Kings
crazy.
is
Yeah.
very impressive because playing bass and singing is difficult, especially when you're playing super like rhythmic lines and stuff. But yeah, it was fun getting him in there because Benny is a very much reggae guy. Like
Yeah.
very he goes deep with the reggae stuff, and like you said, we have so much rock aspects to our music, and we've got like super fast like punk bass lines and stuff sometimes. So I like to think he probably had a good time because he played something that he's not used to doing too much, but it was fun. It was fun. I remember we played a show at Woodlands.
Hell yeah. Was it a Yeah, it was interesting because talking with Benny, we did a show with them up at the Beachland um, last year when they were doing their release, like or right before their release, and like he was like, yeah, you guys should check out Rockstead. I think you guys would Sea Level would do good with that, and like he was just talking you guys up, and the rock thing. Now that you mention it, and I didn't know he played with you before, but like that makes sense. He's like they got this rock thing, and it's really fucking cool. So like that, I think that resonated. It stuck with him.
Sweet. Well, I hope so because I don't know if you've listened to their new album, but they have a song on there called "Booze." I don't
Yeah,
know if you've heard
yeah,
that
yeah.
one, but It's heavy, man.
Yeah.
It sounds like Rage Against the Machine or something. Like, so
I'm
I like that one,
yeah.
dude. He's like, yeah, I know you would.
Yeah, they're so good, man. And so when you guys recorded with them, like I found that Last Straw was really like the harmonies that they did and the switching of the verses. Did they write their verse, or did Benny write his verse, or did you write that for him? Like, how did that?
Yeah, he wrote his verse
Okay.
for that. Yeah, and then him and Zach was doing the harmonies on that track. So yeah, they took over because I hit him up and I was like, hey, here's the thing, and he sent it back, and I was like, dude, this is awesome. I was like, I wish this verse was twice as long because I was like, it's actually a pretty short verse, but yeah, no, yeah, I just sent him the track over, and which is funny too because that's literally the heaviest song we've ever written. Like, there's literally like a metal breakdown at the end of that song, which I freaking love. I think it's kind of hilarious that we did that, but and then we just mentioned how Benny's very much like a reggae dude, very like both of those guys are just really into you know just the kind of more roots side of it, I think. But here they are on our like basically like metal reggae song. I'm like, fuck yeah.
But that's it with them. They're pure. They're purely into like the music. You can tell that because like if not, they wouldn't do the metal reggae song. They wouldn't be into it. But these
Totally.
guys, they're like super supporters of just like music around them and the music they're doing, and like it's refreshing and like kind of like sometimes, and I'm sure you've experienced like sometimes it can be like a competitive, money like driven music jam scene where you don't think it would be. You know what I mean? Especially with like
Definitely.
certain types of music. You don't think they would be really financially focused, but they are. Like, I mean, they get it. It's there's nothing. There's not. That's not a knock on other bands, but it's refreshing to meet people that are purely them and purely into the music and into the music around them.
Definitely.
But
Good peeps.
badass, man. So on this next record, do you guys have any other features that wouldn't be spoily?
Spoiling.
Spoily? I'm trying to find the right way to say that.
Yeah. We already released another single with Treehouse, Jeremy Anderson from Treehouse. I don't know if you're familiar with them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but but he's a good dude too, Jeremy. But he crushed his verse on our song Fireside as well. And we've got another feature artist that is on the album, but I'm not gonna tell you. I'm letting that one be a surprise. I don't even know when this is gonna come out, but
Well, I was gonna put this. We'll put this in to push the show at the Beachland.
okay.
Tell me off mic.
Yeah.
Put that off mic. That's exciting. It's interesting, like as a songwriter, like kind of writing things in a way to have space for a feature. Like
Mhm.
because it seems like such an open, unfinished thing to go and record this huge chunk of a song and just like or the 95% of a song and leaving this big vague thing that maybe this person you reach out to doesn't want to do,
Mhm.
but like you
Well,
can't.
and I was gonna say we've ran into situations too where it's like we literally like would write a song and have this empty verse for like a specific artist
Yeah,
that we really wanted to do it, but then it just like didn't work out. Like
yeah,
either they were too busy or like it was like a little out of our budget or whatever. But then it's like, ah, shit, like we literally wrote this song basically for this person. Not wrote the whole song, but like we had
yeah.
such a vision of having this person there, and then we kind of have to like reimagine things, which is totally fine. Um, but yeah, writing, because like sometimes it's like a little gift to me because I've like sometimes I'll have a song where I can't finish it. I was like, damn, it needs one more verse. It needs one more verse, and then I just go, actually, screw it. That's going to be the feature verse. This song's done. I'm
Yeah,
like,
okay,
hell yeah.
yeah, that's a good way to think of it too. Like like the emptiness is like an opportunity for someone else.
Yeah, totally. I was like, great. And actually, we've talked about that was one of our band goals this year. We always write down some goals that we want to hit,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the year. But one of them was do more feature tracks, like collab more with other artists. And when we made that goal, I was like, sweet, that means I only have to write half a song now. I was like, I'm going to write so much more music if I only have to write half a song.
We'll have multiple records in the can, ready to roll.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
cool. What's another what's a couple other goals that you guys as a group have feel like you've edged more towards?
Like to complete.
Yeah, or
You
even
mean?
just like seems more like this is the year we can actually do this goal, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Honestly, I'm actually looking at the paper right now, so it's on my kitchen table. But one of the goals we had was to do a Sugar Shack. I don't know if you know
nice, yeah,
Sugar
yeah,
Shack,
yeah.
and it's one of those things. Sugar Shack's awesome, and it's great exposure because their YouTube channel blew
It's
up. But
popping, yeah.
um, they're very into promoting smaller local groups around Florida, but it seems like a lot of the touring groups that come through need to have a certain amount of clout these days. I think
Yeah,
because I think they probably just have so many people hitting them
I'm
up that
sure.
they
Yeah,
have to be a little picky. But I was like, all right, we've toured through Florida a handful of times now. Like, we know people who know these people. Like, we can totally this is very doable. But that was one of them.
hell yeah. Well, dude, I can't wait to. It's gonna happen. I can't wait
Yeah,
to see that. Um, like it just I don't know. I feel like the more, and especially when it comes to like touring and like anything, it's like as soon as you meet someone, it's a different story. You're not just an email. You're not just like you know what I mean. You're not just like I got to figure this out. But like once
definitely.
you meet, like even when it's like booking the gig, once you know someone there and like or know a person that can recommend you, it's like it's a way easier process than this like
Oh, for sure.
uh,
Put in a
yeah.
face to a name, and just networking. Like, I actually make it a point every week to go out and see a local show,
Yeah.
because you're meeting bands, you're showing your face regularly at venues. So that is just automatically going to lead to you like meeting the people who run them and work them and blah blah blah. And I think that's really important. Like, I know a lot of people in bands who just like they never go out and like
Yeah.
support live music, and then they always wonder like, why is nobody coming to my shows? It's like, well, you got to go out and like meet people and shake hands and rub shoulders and like make friends, really is what it comes down to. And
Yeah.
that goes a long way.
De-
And
it
oh
definitely
yeah.
does. No, and like and the whole like it always cracks me up the bands that are like support live music, those posts, you know what I mean? Like that don't or hang out in the van and like well, you
Yeah,
didn't meet Tom, the guy who owns the house venue we're playing at, and so like
totally.
um and I feel like similar kind of like longing or need to go out and do that, and I enjoy that. I enjoy meeting
Hmm.
other people and supporting other music, and I don't know if that's like the teacherish part of of me, and like, or if it's just like that the beauty that the community creates, and like seeing it come together and seeing other people celebrate their work and like because I found myself involved in a lot of communal things in Cleveland, so like I don't know if that's just a natural part of me, but I enjoy going to the other shows and hanging out with the and making new friends and seeing the other bands, especially ones that like are just like it's their first show or whatever, and like it's crazy because it is the first show, and you see like their friends going crazy. You know, it's really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Um,
totally.
but awesome, man. Well, man, I really appreciate your time and chatting with me. I'm looking forward to our show in February at the Beachland with John Wayne.
John Wayne and the
John
Pain.
Wayne.
It's going down. I'm stoked.
It's gonna be.
That'll actually be our first time playing in the ballroom.
Yeah, it's gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, it's sick. It's gonna be sick. But anyway, all right, Jake. You have a good one, my friend, and I'll talk to you.
Awesome, man. Talk to you later.
Yo, Spike Spiegel here. You just listened to Zig at the Gig podcast. Keep riding the bebop. See you, Space Cowboy. Bang.